Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I'm going over this postcard. I want to make some changes to it
Okay.
because all it says is just sold. What it needs to say is just sold for, $25,000 over list price with 30 plus offers.
Okay, not 30 plus, just 30.
Okay.
And it's sold for
$26,750 over list price.
Yeah, we were at 269 and it sold for what, 297.5?
295,750.
Thanks.
It's only because I'm looking at it, I promise.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thanks, Rain Man.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, like I said, I was so coming into this, but no one, she sent me the thing about the price. I was like, wait, what?
It's okay. That's why I wanted to see it before she sent it out, just to make sure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, take it over, man. Tell me what I need to do.
I'm going to just reply all.
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure, like, how, I mean, I know you and I kind of talked about it, but then when I started getting into the weeds about it with her, I wasn't sure that I could dictate.
You can.
Okay, well, good to know. I mean, I don't like to be a bossy ass bitch. I'll let you be that.
There you go. So I'm going to say replace just sold with sold for $26,750 over list price with 30 offers.
There you go. That's badass. And then how do they, so they send them?
Yeah.
Like, do we have to do anything?
No, we just pay for half of it and do the design process with them.
Okay. And then they just know who to send them to based on your radius?
Yeah. So they do a radius and pull addresses within that radius, and then they can just mail directly to the people in that. What's the name of the subdivision? So should we include that too, so people know where the hell this is?
Yeah, it's, hold on, because there was two in the MLS. Hold on a second. Range. I got a great lead from Janine last night.
Oh, and Creedmoor, right? They're ready to go.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think I'm going to pull them out of Creedmoor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought she said they had one they wanted.
They did, but then I was talking to them and kind of changed gears. So I was all about it,
Okay, rock and roll. You're the expert in the area.
They wanted to know about the triangle, and we started talking about. I just mentioned that I lived in Butte, and they were like, "Oh, that's how you say it." And then they were like, wanting to know more information about this in Southern Wayne County. So they're just sort of like blind, shot in the dark. So I would love to just direct them. I don't know what's really happening in Creedmoor. Southwick Farm is the name of the subdivision.
Yep, I just emailed her, so you can see what I put in there, the suggestions that I put in there. Hey, Brandon.
Haven't listed yet or getting ready to. The other good thing, if you're representing the seller with these ones, is definitely take the people that have the other offers. And I mean, I would always stress a backup offer if the seller will let you do it.
Yep.
Which they should, but it's just, I mean, why wouldn't you have a backup plan in place?
In case the shit hits the fan.
Doesn't cost anything to do it. I mean, you put your earnest money to the attorney, but you'll always get that back. That's not an issue. You can terminate if you get accepted, another offer accepted. You can continue to look and write on other things. And all you have to do really is email them and say, hey, we're withdrawing our backup offer. Now you want to get the document officially signed, but technically that's all you need to do. So, just to recap real quick, offer one and offer two, when you're thinking about how your offer might stack up to somebody, be able to break it down for your sellers and maybe your buyers. I would say, Ashley, this is a great learning opportunity for your client to be able to go back and say, you know what, the listing agent accidentally sent me the contract that won. This is what it looks like. This is how it compared to yours. This was the difference. And look at the difference.
Right. So in the top offer, how much cash did they actually bring to the table? Just the $3,000?
Whatever
if
the
it appraised.
costs were.
That's completely about their loan type, their situation, how much they're planning to put down, all of that. We can't answer that from what we've got. Remember, it's like you were in school and you're like, there's not enough information for me to answer the question. I feel like that's how some SAT questions were. But that none of that is relevant to accepting an offer necessarily. Now,
Right.
some sellers will want to see what your loan to value is. There's a spot for that on the offer to purchase, right? To put what the loan to value is, especially in multiples. Sometimes people will want to see that. So in multiples, I would be prepared to share that, especially if your people are putting down a good amount and not 0 or 3 or 5%, you know, because what does that tell a seller and the listing agent? It says they've got cash on hand. So if we know that they've offered above list price, chances are greater that they can come out of pocket to make that up, especially if they put a significant amount down for due diligence so they don't want to walk away. Also, remember, when you're putting more down for due diligence, ultimately that's less you have to bring to the table because that's a credit for your overall closing costs.
Yeah, that's the part I don't understand is that.
Yeah, I think that as a new agent sometimes.
So if your overall closing costs are $10,000 and you put down $3,000 in due diligence, then you bring $7,000 to the table. If your overall closing costs are $10,000 and you put $500 down in due diligence, then you have to bring $9,500 to the table.
Well, cash to close, right? Not
Yes.
necessarily closing costs, your cash to close.
Well, that's like what Brandon was saying. If the first offer, if the guy was quote unquote cash poor, maybe he only had 3,000 to bring to the table. So that's why you asked for the 5,000 in closing, and it's cheaper to give that 3,000 due diligence.
Exactly right. But don't forget, if you've got a client putting 3.5% down on a $220,000 house and they do $4,000 in due diligence, because that's what it takes to win, that $4,000 in due diligence counts towards that 3.5% down payment that they're putting towards the loan. So educate them to make sure that they know, hey, this money counts towards not only the purchase price, but towards your deposit. So it's going to make it easier what you're bringing at the end.
Let's not confuse. I want to make sure we're clear about this. It counts towards the amount of cash you have to bring to the table. That includes your down payment and your closing costs. That's what the cash to close total is. So it counts as a credit towards that. It doesn't count as plus your 3 point whatever percent down unless you have 0 closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
We're not supposed to say that. No.
Chris is smiling, so I know it makes sense because she gets it. All right. Let's talk about now Meredith's situation, which came up, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. Meredith's offer was accepted, $5,000 under list price. Well, guess what? It appraised for $7,000 less than that. So what are the next steps? Let's just draw this out so people get it. So what was the list price? You're on mute.
$279,900.
Okay. And what was your contract price?
$275,250.
And what was the appraisal amount?
$268.
Wow.
That was for the CMA, but the cost approach was a little bit more. Do we care about that at all?
We want to go with, let me get back on your thing. It's by the sales comparison approach is the number that we use, the indicated value by sales comparison approach. So 268. So that's roughly what's the 11,900, almost $12,000. Yeah, and different. So what do we do in this situation?
Well, did she ask for any closing costs on the contract?
No.
Okay.
Well, first of all, were you in multiple offers?
Yes.
You were in multiple offers. Okay. And your offer was $5,000 below list price roughly. So it stands to reason that the other offers weren't exactly sailing the seller to the moon. They weren't fantastic, right?
Did you sign an appraisal addendum?
No.
Do they have the money to make up the difference? I'm assuming not.
No.
Did you go back to the listing agent and negotiate the appraisal?
That's the
Reduce?
plan this morning.
So, Krista, how would you handle this? What's your next step? What conversations do you have with your client?
I'm mind blown that the list price was 279. And again, I mean, we're in the triangle, which I know is so different from the beach, but I'm blown away of the difference in appraisal and list price.
Meredith, where's this place again? Where's this house again?
Clayton. It's like it's on the Raleigh Garner side of Clayton though, so it's not like
42.
it's more like 30 minutes from me in North Raleigh than it would be like 45, you know.
Meredith, when you ran a CMA, what did you come up with as far as the value goes?
That was my next question to
250.
you.
What
was it?
I came up with like 250.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
So you did
so
a
it's just
really
way
good job.
overpriced.
For you.
Yeah,
Kudos.
I told my buyers, I was like, I don't think this will appraise.
How long had it been on the market?
A week maybe.
Did you ask the listing agent for their comps?
Not, I mean, I did yesterday, but not then.
That's something good that I know Brandon, I've learned from, is that if I'm not matching up with the comps, I have no problems asking that listing agent, and not out of disrespect. I'm just trying to see where you've gotten your number here. I want to see this because I want it to appraise just like you.
Yeah.
Well, also her seller maybe she just did do what they sellers tell them to do, obviously.
Yeah, but and then a listing agent can kind of give you that feeling, which, then you can move forward and know what you're dealing with.
Was there anything out
Control
of
your client.
was there anything out of the home inspection as far as repairs?
No, it was pretty clean. But we even we gave them no repairs.
Oh, okay.
That was so they wanted a conventional loan. They wanted at least 270, and they wanted no repairs.
Meredith, how much money did you have in due diligence?
I think we did 1,000.
Okay, 1,000. And so with inspections, you're probably up to another 525 to 725, somewhere around there. So now you're at, let's just say $1,600 for easy math. You're at roughly $600 for an appraisal. Okay. So let's say your folks they've spent $2,200 regardless of what they decide to do here. And you're still roughly $7,000 apart from the appraisal, right? How much money do they have to make up difference if they had to, in a dream scenario, if the seller said, we'll accept X, not appraisal value, but we're willing to negotiate to some degree, how far are your people, how far can they go?
I haven't had that conversation yet.
Okay. So that's something to start thinking about, right? Because you told them, right, if what you're telling us is accurate, and I know it is, I don't think this house is going to appraise for this. You let them know that on the front end. So in my opinion, you protected your client by doing that. They still wanted to make the offer. We worked at the behest of the client, regardless of what we tell them. It's their job to make the decision, right? We fill out the paperwork after we educate them. What I think I would do is I would share my comps with the seller's agent. I would share the appraisal report with the seller's agent. You technically need to get your buyer's permission to do that. They paid for the appraisal, okay? And I would take that to the seller's agent and say, obviously we've got a $7,000 difference here. We know we had the best offer because you took it. We want to work together and get this thing to the closing table. Please provide your comps with me so that I can give them to the appraiser and see if at a minimum we can wiggle a couple extra $1,000 out of him to make this easier on everybody else. Okay. Hopefully that will go well. If it doesn't go well, when's your due diligence end?
The 3rd.
Okay. So you got a couple more days. In my opinion, and I would like to hear what other people say about this, if they won't play ball with you, or in 2 or 3 days, you give her numbers and they're jumped to the appraiser and they come back, the thing I would say is, listen, this house isn't appraising anywhere close to where it's got listed at. I'm not quite sure that if anyone beat us on our original offer when we went $5,000 below list price, that if you put this back on the market, the sellers are going to get what they are expecting to get. We're prepared to proceed to the closing table with the appraisal value. I think that may be the best thing that you're going to get. Let's make this happen. And then it's on to her to figure it out with her seller.
Yeah.
That's the strategy that I would take. But if they think someone's going to, you know, you can get 5 appraisers in a house and you can get 5 different values, but this fucking house ain't going from 268 to 281. Absolutely not.
I mean, I've worked with the appraiser yesterday. The list agent did send her comp. So like, I think he squeezed every dollar that he could.
Meredith, what's the address? I'm just very curious.
15 potted plant
Oh,
court.
okay.
Meredith, how do you know, where did you find out? Because you said earlier that they wanted 270 out of it. How did you get, did they tell you that?
Yeah, the listing agent.
Brandy.
I used the whole, what's the perfect offer? And they said at least 270.
So you shot over that? Okay, so then, I mean, I would just use that like, hey, well, you know, if you can get your clients to go $2,000 up,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
we're going to give you what you want.
There you
It
go.
appraised low, but we're going to give you that 2,000 and call it a day.
It
Amen.
looks to me, just
like
from
Brandon
looking at,
said- just like Brandon said, I mean, not for nothing. Here's the bad part about putting all your money in due diligence. The buyer has nothing to lose either. You can run it all the way to the day before closing and say, yep, we're out. And then they got to put it back on the market. Like, that's a jerk thing to do. But hypothetically, you know, that now they're sitting square one and we don't know what their plans are. And I'm not saying to do that by any means, but I'm saying like, it is, if they're not going to be reasonable, I guess.
Nate, I do think personally, I think there is a time and place for stringing it out to the last minute.
Yeah.
And it's not to be an asshole. It's just to really give that listing agent time to hopefully educate their client and give the client time, not your client, but the seller client time to get a little cold feet. Damn, are we going to be able to get what we want for this house or not? You know,
well, and
maybe
I think
settle a
from
bit.
looking at this listing, you know, I mean, obviously the listing agent is feeling confident about this. I mean, look at the first 3 words, location, location, location. She is probably planning on this to be a multiple offer over asking situation that we see happen all the time in Clayton. She kind of shot herself in the foot. She might have gotten her clients a little more excited. And this is just my assumption from looking at her listing. And so now she's kind of having to back into this and say, well, I was wrong.
And that
Yeah.
does happen
She
sometimes.
would've-
We've seen it a lot more in the past than we're seeing it now, but it definitely happens. People promise the moon. A lot of agents get the listing that way by saying, sure, we can sell it for that. And then you have to deal with this later. But conversely, you know, she might have marketed it that way to make it seem that it was going to happen. But at the same time, she could have been telling her clients, look, these numbers do not make sense. We need to be prepared to deal with this if this happens. And certainly she had some sort of conversation with them like that after they got all multiple offers below list price. You would think that at some point that came up, right? So I think, Meredith, you've gotten good advice. You've already done your due diligence by getting their comps, talking with them about it, sharing it with the appraiser, trying to get everything you can. Now it's just, we're down to brass tacks. Okay, buyers, what can you do? What's the most out of pocket you can do? What is your max that you can do for this? Obviously, I'm going to go to them and say, look, we were willing to pay this price, of course, but we can't pay it because it didn't appraise and it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So we're prepared to move forward at appraisal value. You won't have to relist it. If you relist it, you're probably, don't even say that. You won't have to relist it. So can you get your sellers to come down to the appraised value so we can move forward and close on time?
Do your people have the ability to go halvesies?
I'm not sure.
Well, the conversation you need to have with them and see is what's the most they can do. Make sure you talk with the lender to see exactly how many dollars they have to bring at closing at every possible price point, 268, 269, 270, etc. So you know exactly. And then they can say, yep, we're comfortable up to this. And then-
Meredith, I think that,
hold on, wait a second. And then you go to the list agent and you say, we'll settle for the appraised value. That's what we'll pay. And then they're going to come back and say, well, we can't do that. We'll do X. And then you'll know whether or not they're prepared to do that, or if you have to push back even more.
Okay.
So you've already got the math, so you can answer the question and so there's no, well, I mean, of course, you're not going to answer right then without going to your client, but that way your clients know what the max is possible based on how much they have to bring to closing, what amount of cash they have on hand, etc.
Meredith, this is such a great learning tool for you. I can remember one of my very first clients being in a similar situation. And when I look back at how I handled it, kind of like you, just not really knowing the answers to the questions that were being asked, looking back and now how we handle things is how we all have learned. So I hope you know that, you know, what you're going through is so normal, and, you know, we all have to get through these bumps, and you kind of feel like, oh, I just want to do the right thing, and you will. And the next client, you'll be that much more prepared to get them prepared. So I think you're doing great. And I think that this is going to be something you won't forget.
Meredith, it's so hard because one person, i.e. an appraiser, has so much control over a transaction, and it makes it really difficult on the front side, because sometimes you just have to say to your clients, I have no idea where this is going to come in. You know, it's somebody's opinion, but this is what I think. So be prepared for X. We may be pleasantly surprised.
To me, the key in all of this is that I think, based on what we have, is that Meredith did the right thing from the get-go by telling our clients this price is out of the fucking sky and it's not going to appraise, and submitted an offer for $5,000 below list price, which you're not getting a lot of offers below list price in that Clayton area right now. I just got my ass whipped on a house there, you know. So Meredith, you're doing a great job. To the point, we've all kind of beaten a dead horse here, but do what you can to convince them to that you're ready to move forward at the appraisal value. And then the second conversation I would be having is, like Doug said, get the numbers at different price points. They've already slipped up and told you that they want to net to or get to 270. So that would be the target number I would try to get my folks to get to, if they have the ability to do that. You know, if they have the ability to do that.
I agree with that. I would say at least let's get to this number. If you can't go above that, that's fine, because they've already told us that they would accept that before. And then if they won't accept 268, when you talk to the list agent, say, well, what will you accept? And if they go over 270, say, well, you know, you kind of told me before that they would take 270.
Yeah.
So we got to at least get to that. But of course, you want to try 268 first. Make sure your folks can actually get to 270. So just make sure you're thinking about it. You don't want to play all your cards up front.
Yeah. Thanks, sure.
Meredith, if that doesn't work, then just reminder that there's 2 weeks after closing that you can hold that house hostage.
Who is that? Who's talking?
What's that?
14 days.
I know. I'm like, I haven't heard that voice in forever.
That's a good point. But to that point, and one that Nate and Brandon kind of made earlier, we don't want to hold anybody hostage, but we can say, oh, we're still thinking about it. You know, that's why when you have the conversation up front, be like, look, we want to move this forward to closing on time, but we also have to be realistic about what the numbers are saying.
Meredith, here's the thing. If they have to relist that house, every single person who brings an offer the next time, they're going to say, hey, by the way, why did the previous buyer terminate? And they ain't got to say anything, but depending on the answer that they get, you know, it could be a little bit suspicious, you know, anything, even if they say that if they say the previous buyer got cold feet and backed out. Okay, well, can you share the inspection report? Did the home appraise? You know, a good agent is going to follow up and ask them those questions. So it's not impossible, obviously, in our market to sell a home where a buyer terminates, but it's really challenging if you overpriced it by about $17,000 right out of the chute. That's going to be difficult. So you've got some work ahead of you, but I think you're off to a great start for sure.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing too. When you go under contract, you know, it says who the buyer's agent is too. So I'll be more than happy to share that appraisal with them.
Hey, playing hardball.
Prison rules.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, since the number wasn't even close, they'd need like one or two houses that comp to sell high to even get an appraisal that works next time.
Yeah, they're going to have the same problem again, unless you get a cash buyer who comes in that says, oh, the hell with it. But even a cash buyer isn't necessarily just going to overpay for something.
Right.
Yeah, but
You never want to get confrontational with another agent, but I've done that 2 or 3 times where I've said, listen, just being honest with you, if we terminate, are you and your clients confident that this home is going to appraise for somebody else? And if so, what houses do you think they're going to find, the next appraiser is going to find that this one did? But you, at the end of the day, you can't make that. You can't control any of that. This agent may have known from the minute she stepped in that front door that the house was overpriced. It's not her decision to make. You don't know what she's telling them. So it's a little bit dangerous to do too much speculating here. The owner may just, be completely over the moon. He may have no idea. It's not nothing we can control.
And that, preface the conversation or continue the conversation with, look, we both got the same goal, right?
Yep.
We want to make this house close, but we have to be realistic about the data that we're dealing with and what's possible financially. So
is this an email or a phone call?
I think this is a phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emails are so impersonal for anything where you're trying to work something out. I mean, an offer is one thing, but something like this, it really needs to be talked to, because attitudes can be misconstrued in really tight conversations like this. And you want the agent to want to make this happen. You don't want to piss the agent off, so they're not working for you. Because one thing misconstrued can get that agent to say, you know what, the hell with them. We'll relist it in this market. We'll go back under contract. We had multiple offers last time.
Meredith, I'm sorry, I had to step away for a minute. I don't know what Doug said, but I want to get this in there. Kristen and I have a really good friend in Raleigh, and I swear to God, every transaction she does, she complains about the other agent. And I am completely convinced that so much of this is because she texts every transaction is text based. Pick up the phone, let them hear your voice, that you're a nice person and you're wanting to work together with them. It is so easy to misconstrue something over text, and the conversation will just go so much better.
Not to mention, like, I was always scared of that too, because you're new and you're learning, and you're always worried I may not have the answer or whatever. But push yourself out of your comfort zone. No, call, pick up the phone, talk to that agent, like, make yourself do that, and you just get more comfortable with it.
And with your clients too, it's easy for things to get misconstrued when you're talking to your clients. Text is easy. Yeah, it's easy, but it's also way too open for interpretation. So be
Or if you really want to get uncomfortable, go ask them to do lunch.
There you go. Okay, anything else that we want to talk about? I felt like we've done a really good job with these two situations, and hopefully that was helpful. So anything else? We've got about 20 minutes left if we want to talk about anything in particular.
Debo's here.
Devo, you want to talk about agency?
Actually, there's something else that I would like to talk about.
Okay. Oh, hold on, wait, real quick. I forgot to mention this. At the coast, getting people under listings under agency before putting in MLS, you can do it, and just on the listing agreement, you just use the delayed marketing date, and that's the date that it has to go in MLS. And because when you enter the listing in MLS, you put the delayed marketing date, it won't actually show up in MLS for anybody but you. It will only show in your listings. It won't show as coming soon.
And it won't rack up your days on market like hold will.
Correct.
I was telling Doug, we had this conversation the other day. I hate on the listing side how if they're not quite ready, I don't feel secure, because it's not like a buyer agency where, here, sign this, and now we're 6 months together.
Right.
With a listing, if they're not ready and it's not coming soon ready, since you can only be 30 days out, I don't like that feeling of not having them locked in. But there's a delayed marketing date on the listing agreement that I was associating with the coming soon form, which was incorrect. So
Right.
you put that date to get them to sign and have them.
So
Wait,
but
that
then
can
we
be-
just had this conversation, Doug. I thought the other form that we were using, you know, that third form, like when all this COVID started happening and we were
Yeah.
like,
Well, Tiffany just talked to Jacksonville Board of Realtors yesterday because we got no information from Cape Fear that was helpful, and that's what we were told by J Board. So all you need to do is the listing agreement, use the delayed
And that
marketing
makes
date.
total,
Huh? Say that again, Stephanie?
I'm saying that makes total sense. I don't know how I missed that.
Well, it's overly confusing, but that's how to do it. So what you want to make sure you're not doing, because you could get yourself in a sling, is, and I know some people have done it and it's fine because we hadn't had a good explanation, is don't just get your clients to sign it and then wait to sign it because you're not under agency and they can go sign it with somebody else.
It's the same thing in the triangle, right, Doug? You could sign a listing agreement today with a delayed marketing date of November 1st.
You can, it's just there's different forms down there, which makes it more complicated than it
Right.
has.
Well, I want to make sure though, I could sign a listing agreement today with a delayed marketing date of November 1st, and then November 1st, I could either make it active or I could put it in coming soon for 30 days,
Correct.
just to get them under agency.
Correct. Yeah. Because
So
there
you're
should be a way to get people under agency that aren't ready to list right now, or
Yeah,
even
exactly.
Ask you
be
effective date.
accessible. So
So that delayed marketing date can be
Yeah.
You don't even have to have
6 months down the road if that's what you want it to
be
be.
any date,
put
any
that-
day.
Well, holy shit.
It does say that on the little thing where like, because I was filling one out last night where it's like private to only you, like nobody else sees it, only like your office and you. Because you know, there's like the little circle with the question mark by the delayed market date. If you kind of hover over it, it kind of explains that on MLS.
And that was the big disconnect for me, was realizing that if you put that date in MLS, nobody else could see it.
Oh,
that's true.
So hopefully that makes sense. So go get your sellers, no matter how far out they are, under agency, because you're working for them, so you might as well.
so you don't need to use a coming soon with that?
No.
Wow, okay.
And you can also activate anytime before that if you need to. You just go in and change the dates. All right.
Okay,
Any
so
other
when
questions?
the list price, when you do that and you put X price, let's say they're 3 months out, and then X price when you meet them is whatever, and then you're like, well, shit, no, market's changed 3 months later, we're gonna change it to whatever. Well, when it goes live, are they gonna be able to see the price change?
Yeah.
Possibly.
I just changed mine.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
But I mean, you're not going to change it if it's not warranted. And if it's warranted, nobody's going to care because it's going to sell.
And
So
it
you
will
think-
probably sell if it's not warranted in this market.
Yeah.
Right.
No
So
shit.
I wouldn't overthink it. Just put it, and if you got to change, you got to change. I've had to change before too. Yeah, Nate just had to. I mean, it happens. We aren't the only ones. Any other questions? All right.
Clear as mud.
We've got 15 minutes left. Who wants to talk about agency? Ashley?
I need someone to, I don't know, script how they tactfully ask for agency.
I think the biggest thing is just to not make it a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's part of the process. And if they falter on that, you know, it's a test close one. So then just ask what their concern is and then overcome the objection. Like you're really just kind of, okay, so here's what we're going to do next. You're driving the ship. So this is how it works. We just covered the home buying process. So, you know, you got to know how to pay for it. We got to find you a house. And now this is what we're going to do. To do that, I need to represent you. This is what makes us official. And if they're like, well, we're not ready to sign, well, they're probably not ready to buy a house then.
Yeah, I just tell people, I'm like, well, usually I send it the same time I'm sending working with real estate agents. And I'm like, I explain working with real estate agents. And then when it comes to exclusive buyer agency, I'm just like, and this document, this one is a contract. This is you officially hiring me as your real estate agent. And it's just, you know, pretty much shows that I'm committing to you and you're committing to me.
And Ashley,
paper.
I'm sure you have the conversation about why it's important to get pre-approved ahead of time with our market the way it is right now, with how things are flying off the market. So that's the perfect opportunity to say, you know, I legally have to be under agency with you to submit an offer for you. So let's go ahead and get this taken care of as well. So we're just one step ahead and we don't have to do this when you find the right house.
Actually, in addition to the point that Stephanie made, that is really good. One other thing is, you know, you're not really supposed to be negotiating or I don't know, splitting hairs or swapping terms, discussing stuff with opposing agents if you don't represent this client. You're not supposed to do that. So, and technically, anything you learn about this client, you could be a sub agent of the seller theoretically. So, it protects the buyer for you to be an obligated fiduciary of theirs. My question for you is, what's the concern with asking? Are you afraid that people are going to say no?
I don't know. I haven't really had anybody say no. I just haven't, like, I'll send it to them and
I
they
don't know if
sign
that's their
it or
Georgia accent or if it's
whatever.
the
And then
computer.
one lady, she asked me for it and I sent it. Well, so driving, so it could be my phone.
So here's what.
So finally, I just told them, I just said, you know, she wanted me to call an agent and see if they would take less for a house that had been on the market for a long time. And I said, well, I can't do that without agency. You'll have to sign that document.
That's perfect. Here's the thing. If
so
He's in the matrix.
Ashley, I would say this, and for everybody's benefit, the easiest way to get agency is to make sure at the beginning of your relationship, especially showing homes with these folks, that you're setting the expectations through the buyer consult what the home buying process is. If you're not doing that, you're missing out on an opportunity to explain what buyer agency is and why it's important. Okay. Also, 9 times out of 10, the reason buyer agency doesn't get signed is because we as agents make too big of a deal about it. People in general, 9 out of 10 people aren't talking to other agents. They're going to go with the first person they connect with. You've got to normalize this as part of the process and show them the value you're providing, why they want to formalize the relationship with you. Now, it's great when somebody asks you to send it, but you should not be waiting for that.
I feel like because most people are talking to so many agents, that's why it's so important to get in front of them. Even if they're like, I'm not ready to look right now, still get in front of them. It doesn't matter what it's for, coffee, to talk about the process. And then it's easier to ask face to face, I think, than just sending it over the computer, especially if you haven't even met them yet. I think someone's less likely going to give you a hard time if you do it face to face.
I want us to be very careful with our language too, right? We talk about that a lot. You don't need to ask for agency. This is the next step.
Right.
It's time to formalize our relationship. When you do the consult, this will be the next step. Hey, remember when I said this will be the next step? We're at it. Here's the agency agreement. We can be flexible with how long we sign it. Remember that, okay? So that's an easy way to overcome that objection. But if somebody won't sign it for a week, you're gone. I'm not showing you any more houses. I can't do it. It's against our firm policy.
Well, here, actually, my point, and Janine, I'm not picking on you. The only reason
it's fine. Pick away.
is because we were talking about it in the chat the other night. Actually, what would be more upsetting to you? You know, you ask someone and they say no, or you never ask someone and then you show them houses for 3 months, and here it is, you've showed them 15 properties, and then they hit you up with, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to rent. Can you show me this rental and you'll get paid $125 for getting me in a 1-year lease?
Oh, I asked her more than once.
Absolutely livid. Imagine all of the time that you could have spent trying to cultivate other leads, or I don't care, doing whatever, watching TV. It doesn't matter. It's all this time that, you know, you could have used in another way. I used to not be big on agency, but now I do it just because I don't want to get burned. And I think it is a test close because I'm not setting it as, hey, I need you to hire me. This is a part of the process. I have to have this to be able to ask the kind of questions that you're wanting me to ask so that I can best protect you moving forward.
That's such a great point, Brandon. And I'm probably the worst one on here, I'll admit, at getting agency. My strategy has typically been I'll find them the house and then they'll sign it. But what you just said hit the nail on the head, man. You can waste a lot of time with people. It's better if they're just not going to sign it to just know. And that's something I've got to remind myself every day with this stuff because I'm not great at getting agency, but I need to work on it. So
well, and if they can't commit to someone who's working on their behalf and not costing them anything, how can you expect them to commit to a $2,500 a month or whatever it is mortgage payment? You know, I don't know.
I want to be very clear about this. And again, it's not talking to you, Janine, specifically, but it's responding to what you said, because when Brandon said that, your reply was, I sent it to her several times. You're missing the point. You continued to work for her despite the fact that she wouldn't sign it. And that's the point everybody needs to realize. You have to draw a line in the sand. That's what I'm trying to get across. Now, if you don't set the expectations at the beginning, it's going to be harder to put it in front of them and get them to sign it. That's why it's important to do the buyer consult in one form or another, right? So you got to make sure you do it so you're setting up the stage to do it. But if you do it and set it up right and they still refuse to sign it and you still refuse to help or still continue to help them, then I'm sorry. That's on you. You have to be able to make that call. You have to be able to make the tough call. You have to be able to stand up for yourself. That's what I want everybody to understand. You got to do it. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Well, you're the one there, boots on the ground, taking the shots. I want you to protect yourself.
The first time you do it may be difficult, but every single time after that, you won't even think twice. I'm not doing this shit again. No.
Right. It will get easier, I promise.
I can't help you if you won't allow me to help you. I can't do that. You know,
and this is what you have to remember. And as we all build, it's really tough. You're always like, I've connected with this person. I really want to help this person. I don't want to mess up this relationship. But at the end of the day, if they're not allowing you to formalize the relationship, you're really not helping them. You're not able to help them. Plus, what else is it taking away from? And you have to also trust that there'll be another lead that will come along. There'll be more, I promise. So stand up for yourself, everybody. It's really important. Ashley, I hope that helps. Cassie, I hope that helps.
Y'all are such like cheerleaders for self-worth, and it's like I have
you gotta be in this business. It's hard. People are assholes sometimes. You gotta have tough skin. And here's the thing. I'll say that yesterday, I was thinking about a listing I didn't get a couple of months ago. I don't think about my closings. I think about my failures, but it motivates me to be better. And that's what you have to use it for, not to bring you down, but to make you stronger and better. So when you get in that situation again, you remember from it and you use it to make yourself better. That's what all of this is about. It's about us sharing our experiences and our best practices to make each other better.
I'm sure everybody has a friend that they don't hear from unless they really want something from them. It's human nature. There are just people in our society that if they figure out they can take advantage of you or your waffle, or they can get you to do whatever they want without them having to do anything, they'll do it. You don't want those people, you know? So protect yourself.
One of the best things about being a real estate agent, and I want to end it here, is when you get comfortable saying no to a client or no to somebody you're working with. Nate, I know you've done it recently. It feels great. Just be like, you know what? Nope, I'm done. Best of luck to you. I'm not the best person to help you. If things change and you're willing to do what we need to do to move forward, that's great. At this point, I'm not the best person to help you. Best of luck. When you feel that here and you're able to do that and just let it go and move on, I promise you'll feel better. You'll be happier. You'll be less stressed out. Know that something else is coming.
Doug, it kind of goes in with that, but a couple of weeks ago, whenever I was showing that $750,000 condo, when I talked to the list agent, she said, your buyer has to be pre-approved before you can show the house. And at first I was kind of set back by it, but then once I had the conversation with him, I really liked basically what happened there, because I told him, I was like, look, the list agent says that this, you have to be pre-approved prior to seeing this house, kind of just to keep the looky-loos, you know, from just looking at the house and saying, oh, well, you know, I want to see this house. And so the conversation that we had, he immediately got defensive and was like, what? I'm serious. I'm a serious buyer. I really, you know, I'm looking for a place. I'll send you a pre-approval. It's like, great, send it over.
Send it on.
But what that kind of showed me is that because he's so serious, he got defensive and was like, what are you talking about? I am a serious buyer. I'm not out here just wasting my time, and I don't want to waste yours, essentially. So going forward, I thought about doing that with other clients and just saying, hey, look, a lot of these houses are going into multiples. We need to be pre-approved before we even go look at one, because this is what they're asking. So that, you know, only serious buyers are going down. And if they say, you know, oh, fuck off, then great. I know that you're going to waste my time, and there's no reason for me to go show you 20 houses.
So 2 things. I love when other agents have that on there. Usually it's higher price listings, and I get it. Use it to your advantage like Nate did. Second, though, if you go in and do the buyer consult, you need to be teeing that up anyways. Now, they might not have it before you show them the first house, but you need to set the expectation for that and agency before you go out again. That's the whole point of the buyer consult. And also so they understand the process, but that's part of the process. So make sure you're doing that. I think it would be good for us to revisit the buyer consult as a team to make sure that everybody is utilizing it the way it's intended to help you set these expectations. So we'll add that to the calendar to make sure that we do that. I want to let you guys go because people have things to do, and we've been at this for a while. I hope it was helpful for everybody. If anybody wants to sidebar with me or anybody else, go do it. Use this stuff to make you better and help you smile more, because I like to smile. Right? Love you guys. See you Saturday. Bye.